So we met at Amber Falter's Beef Ghost,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
We ended up being seated at the same table. And if I'm remembering right, I may be way off, but I feel like at that time you were like, hey, like I'm kind of just getting into stand-up myself, and I'm kind of just like entering into the comedy world and stuff.
Yes.
Is that right? Or were you like, dude, I was 6 years in at that time. What are you talking about? Like,
No, absolutely correct. I was going to bring this up if you didn't, because it's actually close to the anniversary of when we first met 2 years ago.
really?
Yes.
That is incredible.
I have photos I can show you, but
I love that even more now.
August 18th was Beef Ghost of 2023.
I love that. And now we're making a podcast.
Hey,
Look at us.
look at
Who would have
us.
thought? But I do remember, like, we sat at that table. Obviously, we're just making kind of casual conversation before the show starts and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, like at that time, you were like, hey, like I'm starting to do comedy, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like you from that moment just dove off the deep end into just headfirst into the world of comedy. I feel like you were doing everything all the time.
All at once, yeah. Great
Yes.
movie. Yeah, no, well, actually, I do want to mention about that night, it was interesting because I didn't know Amber, and I only knew Christine.
Really?
Yeah, so Amber,
Okay.
for people who are listening who don't know, Amber created Beef Ghost, those shows. I don't know where to look. Should I look at?
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
that'll be
For
your
you
part of the
guys.
live studio audience,
So,
and that'll be.
do you know Amber Falter? Look her up. I just like bought a ticket on a whim and then randomly sat with you two, with my boyfriend,
Yeah.
you and Taylor.
Yeah, yep, my friend Taylor.
Great, so funny. Both of
Yeah.
you are so funny. And there were no more seats. We arrived too late to like get any other table. And you two were so nice to us. And like he still remembers. I was talking about it to him. He's like, yeah, they were so nice. It's so cool that you're on his podcast now.
That's
So,
amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes, yeah, and well, like I was saying, like I feel like, you know, again, like as we were kind of conversing, you were like, yeah, I'm starting out in comedy, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And like I said, I feel like you just went 0 to 100.
I did.
You have just been, I sometimes have a habit of hyping my friends up because I love what they do so much and I get so excited. But I am genuinely going to say, I feel like you have been crushing it in the last 2 years. Like I feel like you have just been all over the place on so many shows. Obviously, we'll dig into all get into the weeds with all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
Maybe take me back a couple of years ago, during the time when we were first meeting. What was like getting you into actually trying comedy at that point in time?
Yeah, I was so new. My first open mic, my first 5-minute set was July 19th of 2023. And we met July 19th of 2023. And then we met August 18th of 2023. Are you creating a timeline? Is anyone writing this down?
Yes, the people at home are taking notes. Yes.
So I was so new to it and new to writing, new to the scene and everything. And it's so funny that I like told you I'm a stand-up comedian at like a month in. Like,
I mean, you're doing it.
I guess that was fair. I dove like head first into it, and I had been wanting to do it since like 2019. And so I can go back and tell you like how I started to get into it. So I used to do these business pitch competitions called hack-a-thons. Have you heard of these?
I've heard of these from you, and that is one of the things that I want to get into. So perfect segue.
This keeps happening. No one has heard of it in comedy. They're like, what?
They're like, what is this? I've heard you talk about it, and that's like my connection with it. Is I'm like, oh yeah, like Tanya does that. Like,
hey, they don't. Not a lot of them exist. Like the pandemic stopped a lot of them, but essentially what they were is on a Friday you pitch a business idea, and if enough people vote for it, they want to be on your team. Then your team goes on throughout the weekend on Saturday, validating it, talking to customers, creating a prototype and a presentation, and then on Sunday you pitch it to investors. And so I had started doing that in 2017 with Startup Weekend. I did 2 Startup Weekends. I had ideas that got moved forward. One of my ideas was like one of the top placing teams. And then I did Give Back Hack in 2019, which is a social enterprise oriented hackathon. So your business model has to have a component of social good.
Okay.
And so throughout that process, I was talking into a mic for the first time. And little Tanya was so shy, and she'd be so surprised that I ever did that to begin with. And I remember like I attended Startup Weekend. It was at the Idea Foundry close to here.
Yeah.
And it was in 2017. And I wasn't going to pitch an idea because I was nervous. And I was like, I don't really know if I ever want to start a business. And then I saw a line of a bunch of dudes, with their ideas. And I'm like, I'm not going to let this fly. So I'm going to pitch an idea. And it got passed through to like forming a team. So
okay.
I trusted myself. But yeah, no, that's how I started like thinking about stand-up, was because I was speaking into mics and I would crack some jokes every so often, like, what's the deal with airplane food,
Of course. The questions we still need answers to.
I know. And then, so I started writing in my notes app, like, my jokes in 2019, and then didn't get the courage to do it until 2023, so.
Yeah. So we're going to jump around a bit, but I am very curious, and I also do think that we probably talked about this that night at Beef Ghost, that we're going to probably keep referring to about 100 times throughout this conversation. But
take a shot.
Yes, every time we mention that night meeting at Beef Ghost, I want you to drink at home. I'm sure we talked about this during that time, but it is always so fascinating to me when someone does, one, decide to do anything, but specifically stand up, because as I've entered like the world of comedy, like I've, just gotten comfortable enough with improv. Stand-up is something that I would love to try, but like I feel like I can't wire my brain to be able to do it. So what was that like if we are, jumping into 2023? Like, how are you even going about dipping your toes into it to try it, to see if you even like it? To be like, okay, I'm going from shaking off some nerves, talking into these mics at these pitches and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Let me give stand-up a try. Like, how do you just go and try that? Was it just like jumping into open mic territory, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's essentially it, and that's what I recommend to people if they're like, I don't even know where to start. And I would just say start attending open mics. Like, you don't have to go up. You can just go as an audience member. And in fact, we encourage it because we want an audience there to laugh at our jokes. But that's what I started doing. I started going to open mics, and I would bring my girlfriends, and I'm like, I want to do this one day. Will you come with me? And so it was just like girls' night. And I remember going to comedy shows, and I didn't really know of any local comics before then. That's still a constant. Like, my friends don't know local comedians, and I wish they did. So I just had to go and attend and meet people. And I went to actually Simon Fraser's show. He was a past podcast person that you interviewed. And I remember talking to him after one of his shows of like February of the year that I first tried stand-up, and I just asked him, like, where do I go to open mics? Because you don't know what you don't know. And he told me about a number of ones to go to. And then I found out there was a Facebook group where there's a list of open mics, and then I just started going and watching, and then one day had the courage to do it at the Attic. And the Attic was new around that time. And so a lot of people were new to that club, and there weren't a lot of women. I think specifically the night I went up, I took a photo, there were only 1 or 2 women total. So
Gotcha.
So I hear a lot of people say like they had like stand-up comedians that inspired them to do stand-up. Like a lot of people mention like Richard Pryor, right? When I grew up, my parents, because they moved from India, they didn't have a lot of classic pop cultural references for the United States. So like when they came here, it was like they only knew Bollywood and like those movies and music, and so that was what was in our household. So now I don't know a lot of references to like things before the 90s, before I was born and before I came of age. So when people mention, like, I've never seen Top Gun, I've never seen like a lot of classic movies. I make an effort to sometimes because I like watching movies, but like I'll miss references. I don't know a lot of idioms, because if a lot of idioms are like colloquial sayings that people say that developed over generations in a region, right? And like my parents moved here, they just came to Akron, unfortunately, but and so I still don't know a lot of idioms, and it's actually like a common thing amongst children of immigrants. Like, we just don't know like these English phrases that are said. And so when I grew up, like a lot of my influences for comedy were the things I watched, so in terms of like actually stand up, like I guess like I watched a lot of The Tonight Show, like Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien, and I watched SNL, all that show. Did you watch that?
Oh, I loved all that.
So good. Amanda Show.
Yes.
Also.
Incredible.
But then I realized a lot of my humor comes from animated cartoons, like a lot of Cartoon Network, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Nickelodeon, Rugrats, SpongeBob. I relate to so much. I can still quote things every day. I like like whenever we're reversing, I'm like, you're good. That humor. That humor is still my humor. It's still good comedy writing, at least the first couple seasons. And then, so that's why I think growing up, like, I wanted to be a animator or someone who worked with cartoons or graphic design, etc. But yeah, and then, like, later on, it ended up being, like, Dane Cook and, like, Bo Burnham, Dimitri Martin. But that was, like, when I was, like, in middle school, high school.
Yep.
And then I think in college, it was Judd Apatow movies, where it was, like, The Hangover, or I don't think he made The Hangover, but, like, he did Knocked Up and things like that. So it's just changed throughout my life. What's been consistent is I still love animated, like, shows and movies and whatnot, and that's funny because I forgot that those can be funny. Mm-hmm. There's humor in those. Mm-hmm. But I just, like, I haven't heard a lot of, like, stand-ups, like, mention that, so I did want to say that. Yeah.
When you're beginning to try out stand-up, had you kind of already shaken off that, like, shyness previously with like the startup pitches and everything, or were you still, obviously I know it's its own process in itself, right? You can be good at one thing and be happy to be on stage or speaking into a microphone, but then you take that and you put it into a new form such as stand-up or something, the nerves can all rush back. Of course, we're trying something new. Yeah. But what was that process like for you? I'm asking all that too because you said earlier, you know, little Tanya was so shy. So she'd be shocked that you're speaking into a microphone on a stage. Yeah. Like, how much of that were you still carrying into that? Yeah, I grew up not being theatrical at all. I like did like show choir once just because my sister did it and I hated it, quit. But then I would say in college I started loosening up, like getting more confident with myself, like basically coming into who I am, and that just comes with age. And so, like, when I started doing those pitch competitions, I was like mid-20s. Like, I think the first one I was like 25. And so that just with time and age, and then doing those competitions, like, I was nervous at first, and then as I kept doing it, and then, like, eventually we'll talk about it. Spice Up is the idea I pitched at Give Back Hack, which I am still working on now. There's a confidence that comes with having a passion for something that you want to see to come to fruition. I have to constantly talk about it. You know what I mean? I talked about it to investors. I was constantly talking about it, speaking into mics after that, talking on podcasts. And so I just started becoming more confident with my voice and my passions. And so when I started doing stand-up, like, it was nerve-wracking. It's a different type of, I still get anxious when I go on stage. It's still, like, a very scary, vulnerable thing because you're sharing, like, your diary on stage to sometimes an audience that's not laughing. Right. And so it's different types of anxiety. Anxiety is still a constant throughout that journey. But I do think there is a confidence that comes with you getting on stage and speaking into a mic that some people will never do. Yeah. So, yeah, you have to be brave. Right. I want to let's go back and talk about little Tanya for a little bit. So, you know, we've said, okay, we're shy, we're not necessarily like looking to be, you know, on a stage or anything like that. But, like, I guess in general, like, what's growing up like? Like, did you grow up here in Columbus, or, like, take me back? Yeah. My family's from Cuyahoga Falls / Akron, Ohio. I say / because, like, Akron's, like, down the block. And when I have, like, a ton of jokes about just dissing Akron. Nice. And I'm like, psych, I'm actually from Cuyahoga Falls. He's like, I'm just talking shit just cause. Just cause, but it's down the street. Yeah, I grew up in Northeast Ohio. My parents had moved from India in the 80s. And so they had both of my siblings from Gujarat, India. They're from Gujarat, India. Had both my siblings there. And then they moved to, I want to say Cleveland first. I don't know. And then they moved around, like, the Midwest a little bit. And then we ended up in, like, the Akron area. And I was the only one born in the U.S. It's very funny because they named me Tanya also. Like, my siblings have very Indian names, and they named me Tanya. I feel like I've either seen you post, or you have is there a clip from, like, a set where you joke about that? I do. I feel like I've seen you explain that somewhere before. I have 7,500 jokes about my name. Perfect. I've been trying to figure out a way to explain how weird it is that, like they wanted to assimilate through me, and without admitting it. And then I talked to them today, and they I don't think they would say outright that that's what they did, that was their intention, but I'm like, I'm sure in the back of your mind that's why. Right. You named me Tanya. Yes. But it's actually a very common Indian name. People don't realize. I don't know what happened in history. I think, like, it's a Russian name. There's interesting. Okay. And so is Misha, and there's a number of Indian women named Misha, so there's some, like, influence there.
Someone Google that. But but yeah, so we're from Northeast Ohio, and then I went to OSU, and so I stayed in Columbus after I graduated.
Okay. And what did you go to OSU for?
So funny. Here we go. So my parents wanted me to be a doctor.
Okay.
Or go. If you're an child of immigrants, there's a common thread between all of us, of that your parents probably want you to do something along the lines of like law, being a doctor, engineering. And so I actually wanted to go into art of some sort. So little Tanya, she was an artist, and all the like, when you say like what you want to be when you grow up, I'd always say artist, eventually like animator, graphic designer. But when it came time to like actually pursue those like when I was looking at colleges, my parents, they're supportive, but they just want me to like be successful, and their version of success is like something that is employable.
Right. Yes.
And so like they had talked to like one cousin who's a doctor, and my cousin had like one friend who was a graphic designer who couldn't find a job, and he's like, don't let her go to graphic design school.
Perfect.
So I actually applied to OSU's pre-med and changed it literally, I think, the first week. I was like, I'm not doing this.
Really?
So, yeah.
So yeah, as soon as you were like, all right, we're moving out, we're going to college, all this sort of stuff, and I need to redirect this ASAP.
ASAP.
Like, yeah. So and what'd you switch it to?
International relations with the, I was thinking I might be a lawyer. I was going down that path.
Okay. What is the balance like at that point in time of, like, how much of that I really still want to be an artist are you carrying with you, and kind of like, are you battling it at that point in time of like, okay, I should probably go for this quote unquote real job and quote unquote real degree, all this sort of stuff that obviously family is like all in on. But man, I still really want to like was that still kind of like tugging at you at all during that time?
It was the former, where I was struggling internally for those 4 years, and I definitely knew I wanted to do something creative. I didn't know what or how. OSU, they have a good design program, and so eventually after like, I think going into my junior year, I talked to like a guidance counselor, and I was like, what are my options? I'm gonna go into my junior year, and I don't want to be a lawyer. Like, I love learning about history. That's what I loved about international relations, but I'm like, I can't see myself doing that. And so she recommended a course called Communication Technology underneath the communications umbrella, and that taught me about user experience. And it was the first time I learned about combining data and psychology with arts, creativity. And so like UX design I ended up pursuing UX research as my career after I graduated. But like, I started taking these classes. I'm like, this is so interesting. Like, I wish more people talked about it. It was new at that time, that career field. So yeah, she recommended I didn't pursue design school because it's a 4-year program, and I would be there for 4 more years. So.
Right. So walk me through that time frame of essentially what is Tanya doing during that time?
I love working in UX. I still do. The issue I had was going and working a 9-to-5 job and realizing that it's almost like a prison. You're like, for 40 hours plus a week, you have to be peak productive for these shareholder profits. And they don't tell you these things, obviously, because they want a labor force. But I remember getting that job at my first job out of college, was at Abercrombie & Fitch headquarters. Loved that job because it was a great transition between like college life and real world, because they called it a campus, and they really tried to promote like that like youthful party energy that Abercrombie has. And like literally when you go, like people will be like, in the interview, there's people throwing footballs in front of the campus. But it was a great job because like they didn't want you to dress up. They wanted you to like wear like jeans and t-shirts and sneakers. And so that was a great job. But even there, as fun as that could be, I was still like, we're working all the time. And you come from college where you have like free time, right? To do anything. You can go hang out with your friends at 3 p.m., right? And then, doing that made me realize I just can't see myself doing this forever. And so I was like, there has to be an out. And that's when I started thinking about business and like that you could make your own schedule. And little did I know, I'm working more than 40 hours a week sometimes, but
right, yeah.
at least I'm like passionate and driven towards reaching my own goals.
So what were those steps like for you at that time? Because I feel like that's, you know, a lot of, I'm also going to give the caveat before I ask this question of like, of course, like the process of entrepreneurship or pursuing arts and entertainment or anything, it's an ongoing process. So I know nothing is ever like, well, I made this decision and then this started. I never had to make that decision again. Like I
End
know
of story. Yeah.
I know it's always an ongoing thing. But at that point in time, like I feel like that's a big decision that a lot of us have experienced at different times of like, okay, I'm in this quote unquote real job. I feel this itch to pursue these other things, even if I'm not 100% set on like, this is the thing I want to do. I just know it's something else. I know this is not where my skill is the most valuable. What was that decision process like for you at that point in time? Like, what was it an easy one of like, you know what, I've got time, I can figure this out, let's go take some chances? Was it like, oh my God, am I digging a deeper hole for myself of like, where am I going? Like, how do you decide to kind of make that pivot at that point in time?
Well, honestly, I've always concurrently, like, I've been working like a full-time job while consulting until recently, very recently. So like I feel like it was like, I didn't take the plunge until I was forced to because I was laid off in 2021 to like pursue consulting full-time.
Okay.
But also like to think about even pursuing business. I mean, it was just those business pitch competitions is when I first thought about it. To be honest, like that's like when I first started thinking like it's possible. Because have you worked at a startup or do you?
I don't think so. I was like trying to think, I was like, there's a couple of places that maybe sort of fit that, but no, I haven't.
Yeah, I'm going to try and explain the energy because the energy is very similar to to stand-up. And so with startups, there's this like electric energy of like, you could make it. You could do something that is the next Apple. You could be the next Steve Jobs. And I'm in my 30s, so like when I first started doing those competitions, it was like peak productivity, hustle culture, girl boss era, okay? 2017. And so that was when all of those, like, these large startups like Uber, Apple, et cetera, like, were at their peak. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone wanted to create a startup. And I got sucked into that energy. It's like, it's electrifying. It's something you want to be a part of. And the way they talk about it, it's very cultish. Mm-hmm. Similar to like stand-up, like and improv too. Like there's like an energy that's kind of culty.
Yeah.
But it's because you could make it. The thing you're pursuing, you could do it. You could, whatever your goal is to be like famous or rich or whatever, that could happen with your idea, but it won't happen unless you pitch this idea. So I was very drawn to that. And then I noticed lots of similarities within the startup world of like, one of us could get a Netflix special. Or sorry, the stand-up world. Yeah. I keep confused, the S and the S.
They're very clear. Yeah, startup, stand-up, 100%. Hey, college, high school, all
the same. But what's funny too is that like a lot of men are drawn to both of these things. So like I said, there was a line of men pitching their idea at Startup Weekend. There's a line of men at every open mic.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I'm patriarchy, but
yes.
But yeah, there's just like, and that's why, I mean, if you talk to other people who do stand up too, that it's like a similar energy that we all have of like, something's happening here, right. And it could happen for one of us.
So like, how do those pitches, like, how does that even come up? Is it just something that you hear like around the office at that point in time that's like, hey, there's this thing coming up? Like, how does that even get introduced to you?
Yeah, I was working at Lextant. They're a local design research consultancy in Columbus. Okay. They mostly work in like automotive research with like the Honda plant here, but someone had mentioned it, or like they paid for us to be a part of it. I think because they probably sponsored the event. And so there were a lot pre-pandemic. There were way more like events like that. There were more like meetups. I used to run a local UX meetup called IXDA, Interaction Design Association. And so that's where I got super involved into tech and the startup life, because I was literally producing monthly events where we'd have speakers from local and across the country come speak about user experience and design. And so through that, I would hear about these competitions too. And then like you'd form friend groups and you'd all go together, and it was just like another way to like hang out also.
Yeah. So you hear about this competition. What's the thing that sparks for you that you're like, and I think you mentioned it earlier, but like, what was that original idea that clicked for you where you were like, wait a second, not only do I have the opportunity for this competition, I've got an idea that I want to put together a pitch for. What was that?
Honestly, I think I had just been mulling over like a thought. I don't even know if I went into that first one thinking that it would be the one that I would like pitch. It was just like a concept I had I called it Arch, and the concept was a heel where like a shoe that's a heel, the heel could come off so it turns into a flat. Because women are on the go, we're girl bosses, and if we want to go from work to party, we need to turn our flat into a heel, vice versa.
That doesn't exist?
It does exist now.
It does exist now, okay.
And that's my company, and here I am to ask for money now.
I'll be asking you for money at that point.
I stopped working on it because it was just like, it got deep into like production and like figuring out who can manufacture it and things like that. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. It hasn't always been a passion of mine, so I'm like, I'm just gonna let this go. It existed. I honestly just enjoyed like creating the branding. Arch, it was gorgeous. And I had a team of like graphic designers who helped me during that weekend. But yeah, and then I did a second one the year after where I did. It was a party in a box called Cheers. And I had pitched that because my siblings had gotten married a year after each other, like 2016 and 2017, or 2018, and I had to plan all their like engagement parties, the bachelorette party, etc. And it was just like so annoying to source all of the like decor for that. And so I was like, what if there was a box that just like had all that for you, and you just like take it, and we have an inventory. And I'm like, oh, did I just create Amazon? Okay. Yeah. So that idea does exist. Like there's actually a company in Columbus, there's a group of women doing it. I never talked to them, but like, good for them.
Okay, so are these ideas just popping up whenever the competition comes around? Or are these things that like one kind of leads to another, and then you kind of find yourself like when you're not quote unquote, I guess, on the clock, are you just like, cool, my creative brain is now firing at all times, and I'm just like noting down all these fun business ideas or branding ideas, or I'm designing a logo here and there, like, because I'm also asking that because like I do that all the time. Like there's often times where I'll have an idea for a business, but then I ultimately realize that all I need to do is actually just kind of like maybe design a logo for that business.
You're content.
And I didn't, I didn't need to make the product. I just thought it was cool, and I kind of needed to like essentially make art.
Yeah.
Like it was just an idea that just needed to exist in the world out of my brain. And sometimes like I'll just make a logo and I'll be like, you know what? Wow, that's cool. I don't need to pursue that though.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you?
No, it was, I believe I started thinking of those ideas as the competitions came closer. Are you a graphic designer? You work in design too? Yeah. So like you find that like adding constraints, like a design challenge, actually makes you more creative because you're pushing yourself to fit within these bounds versus like if there's nothing that's pushing you, there's no like time constraint, no reason to be working on this, you might not. It's just an idea in your Rolodex. So I didn't really have ideas up until Spice Up. That's one that I had been thinking of, but that was because I had been doing the competitions, and then I started documenting things I wanted to work on.
Yeah.
But up until then, it was like I would think of ideas that could go through the process of being validated with a team and then potentially get funding. So it was like a perfect like little like time box of a weekend where I could potentially get people to help me bring it to fruition, because otherwise you have to source all that yourself. It's very hard.
Yeah.
But there were people who attend these hackathons who like they just want to be a part of a team. It's not their idea. They just want to be a part of a team, let it go, and they just want to do something creative, right? And I think creatives, we love that. We just want to challenge sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
There's many things that I personally kind of have sitting that I'm like, oh, that'd be a really fun brand idea or a really fun show idea.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'm like, I don't need to be the one that does it. I'm like, there's so many times where I'm like, I wish I could just find somebody who really, really thinks this is cool, who wants to give it their energy, and I would just be like, cool, take the idea. I just would love to see it exist. I don't have to be the person doing it. You know what I mean? Walk me through what those hackathons are like, because that sounds nerve-wracking.
It's nerve-wracking. The pitching is my least favorite part.
Yeah.
And because all those times we were working on my idea, I was the one on the stage pitching, and I was like so nervous. I remember like forcing other team members to do it with me. I had just met all these they're strangers to me, and they're helping me with this idea, and I'm like, you're going to be on stage with me, you're going to help me with this. Because it's a lot of it's like memorization, and like if you're anxious, your brain stops remembering things because it goes into fight or flight mode, and which has happened a number of times in comedy and stand-up. But I guess I'm just drawn, something's wrong with me, and I'm drawn to this pain, this anxiety. But no, I mean, my favorite part of those weekends was just like seeing my idea come to fruition and like be real and be in the world and having it exist. Yeah. The pitching, it's just part of it. So unfortunately you have to do it. And towards the end, when I did do Spice Up, I was just so passionate about it. And I guess I can explain what it is.
Yeah.
So I had been mulling over different ideas because I knew that I didn't want to do the like party in a box idea forever. Like that, it just like was getting too complicated logistically, and I was like, I'm really not super passionate about this. And so I was thinking through like, what am I passionate about? And I love food and like learning about the history of food and cooking. I love cooking. I learned about cooking through my parents. My mom, I cook with her in the kitchen. She was raised in India to learn how to make the food for the family. And after you get married, you move in with your in-laws. So you move in with your husband into your in-laws' house, and then you help with his mom make food for everyone. And so she is a very great cook. And I just knew that there's so many stories behind every recipe. A recipe essentially is a story. And I want to hear those stories. And you don't really hear it. When you go to a restaurant, you don't see behind the curtain of like why the chef made this restaurant. If they're an immigrant, what was their story? Creating a restaurant is super hard, and that's what you wanted to do. I'm so proud of you. I want to hear what you have to say. And so I wanted to pitch an idea where we talk to chefs and they tell us why they do what they do. And I wasn't a comedian when I pitched in 2019, but now that I am, I incorporate comedy into it so that it's lighthearted.
Spice Up has this, I would say, maybe this is the wrong term to use, but like maybe more of like a heartfelt foundation under it comparatively to some of the other ideas, right? So when we're walking in to pitch that, what comes from that pitch? And ultimately, I guess, like what was that process like? Because regardless of whoever's answer may have been, you still were like, I believe in this idea enough that I'm going to continue doing.
Yeah. So yeah, you can't let that stop you, whether what the judges think or not. But so I went into that weekend. You can go in with some validation of your idea. So I think they don't want people who've been working on it for years, but they're like, you can validate it in some way. And for people who aren't aware of like what that means, like validation just means like you are solving a problem for someone, and you go talk to those people in some way to make sure that your idea is rooted in problems, and it's not just a solution that no one wants. You want to make sure people want your concept. And so I had gone to, when I pitched Spice Up, it was rooted in, we wanted to share immigrant stories specifically. Right now I invite other chefs to be on the stage with me, as long as someone has like someone's from a marginalized community. I just want more representation. But when I pitched it was specifically immigrant chefs or refugee chefs. So I went to Chris Community Refugee Immigration Services, and I went to another place, I'm forgetting their name, but like I went and talked to them and talked about like, do you have people who like to cook, home cooks? Can I talk to them? Do they want to share their story? I went and talked to a number of restaurants and just asked the chef, like, do you want to share your story? Why do you do this? Things like that. And so I had some of that validation going into the weekend, knowing that this is a solid idea. Essentially, I got positive feedback. And then as we went through the weekend, I had a team that helped me. And then when we pitched, we did end up placing like one of the top teams. I can't remember like which. There were a number of top teams, but we ended up getting like $5,000 to $7,000, and we were also the crowd favorite. And I also had the biggest team. I had like 10 to 13 people because so many people wanted to be a part of this. And there's something about that was like, in my mind, I'm like, this is a good concept. I already know it is. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter. Those accolades don't actually matter. I know that people resonated with this. I had a team of a bunch of people of color who like could share, had a similar story as me, immigrant children, and they knew how important food is because it is a common language across the world. It's one thing we can all relate to. You can sit down and break bread with someone and not know what language they speak. You know, you just know that you both love the thing you're eating together, and we were just drawn to that. So yeah, we ended up placing, and I ended up winning some money, and then we went on to an accelerator called Sea Change, a social enterprise accelerator. And what that is like, it's for like a couple weeks, a couple months, I forget how long it was, we essentially learned how to build a business. And so we would meet every week, and we would have homework, and they'd teach us what to do, what an LLC is, how to continue validating your product, branding, all that stuff. And so by the end of that, there was another pitch after that to get funding. But I had an idea that the goal of it was that you were going to launch your idea. Your idea is going to be real. And so we had like our first event at the end of that, and we sold a lot of tickets. People were happy, and yeah, talking about it is wild because I forgot that I did all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was so much that went into that summer 2019, but unfortunately it was a year before the pandemic, so.
And I guess that kind of flows into my next question, was going to be like, did it just continue building from there, or does then pandemic kind of halt a lot of that growth from an event standpoint, obviously, but like.
So the pandemic happened, and we had a number of, I think we had like 6 or 7 events already done in like 2019.
Of Spice Up?
Of Spice Up events.
Really?
A lot of events.
Okay.
And into 2020. I believe our last event might have been our 6th or 7th event, like a couple weeks before it shut down. We didn't even know that would happen, right? It was with Maza, a local Mediterranean. Have you been there?
I haven't.
What?
No, I have not.
Stop the podcast.
We're going to go right now.
We gotta go right now.
Then we'll come back and we'll finish it after. Yeah.
We had their Lebanese women-owned restaurant, beautiful, gorgeous, and it was just like such great food and such a great event. And we had another Syrian chef there too, who's friends with them. Her name's Selena, and it was a great event before everything ended. And we went and did Zoom calls. But after a while, I was like, even I'm tired of that because we all have full-time jobs where we're virtual as well. And so we all just kind of stopped. And my team had to move on. At that point, I had like 2 members with me, and they had to move on to other opportunities. It was totally fair. And so then it just was like stagnant for a while because I had lost my job during the pandemic too. We had just bought a house, me and my boyfriend, and then I lost my job. And so I was like, cool, this rocks.
Well. This is awesome.
And Spice Up was like the way, it's just so labor intensive that like I can't just like do it all the time. And especially then like restaurants weren't even open. So it just was an idea that I felt mentally it was really tough because I had attributed a lot of my personality and passions with Spice Up at that point. I put in so much work up until this point that to just like put it on a back burner. So I was very sad about that for a while, and honestly I didn't bring it back until 2023, 2024. So it took me some time, and honestly I think doing stand-up comedy reinvigorated that like hustle, I can do anything mentality that I had kind of lost during those years of the pandemic.
Yeah. Had you during that time, like, I know in a lot of ways, obviously, you know, there's kind of a being forced to just kind of accept the way things are when there's a pandemic happening. Mm-hmm. But like, I guess during that time and kind of that separation from the idea, like, was there that moment of like going from being bummed to almost kind of, I don't know, I guess coming to peace with the idea of like, okay, well, I guess that was a thing that I did for a little bit and it was really cool and I feel like I'm missing a part of my identity, but I guess I'll just go and figure out what's next? Or was it still like, one day I will bring this back?
The latter, for sure. I just knew at some point. It's still hard because I'm still trying to figure out like how to make this something that can pay my bills, like consistently. My main goal for next year is like develop recurring monthly revenue because I want to live up. This is my passion.
Yeah.
And so it was on the back burner. I honestly didn't know when I'd bring it back or how. It would just be like my Instagram account that I just randomly post like food or something, too. But like nothing was happening. And people would always ask me about it too, because they love the concept. And so it's honestly just like, I knew there's something there. It's something that the world needs to see this. I need to see this through, because I think we'd be better off with it. I think these conversations need to happen. And so that just like, that kept me going. And again, with stand-up, when I first did stand-up in 2023, like, again, I wasn't really actively working on Spice Up. It wasn't until the next year when do you know Avishar Barua?
I don't think I do.
He's a relatively well-known chef here in Columbus. He owns Agni in the brewery district. Indian, where is he from? I believe his family is Bengali. And he also owns Joya's.
Okay.
You've never heard of these restaurants?
I've probably seen many of them. I'm really bad with like locations and places. You could tell me the street Columbus. We're on. Yeah, I was gonna say, you can tell me where we're at right now, and I'm gonna be like, right, yeah, okay. So if I visually see something, I'll be like, oh my god, I've seen this so many times, but have never put two and two together.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, all right. Well, he's a big deal. No.
He's a really big deal.
It was a really good event. But no, I think I got like confidence from doing stand up that like I can do anything, that I was just like, let's bring Spice Up back. And I did an event with Avishar Barua, and he's like relatively well known because he was on the Food Network. He was on Beat Bobby Flay, and he beat Bobby Flay, by the way.
Wild.
He did it.
Okay.
And then he also worked for like Michelin star restaurants in like New York City. And so I did an event with him, and it was small and intimate, but I was like, this is so cool. I can't believe he answered my email. So
right, yeah. Most of the time, getting someone to answer an email is a big enough deal to then be like, well, we're doing something together now. This is absolutely insane.
Right.
So what form do Spice Up events take nowadays? Like, is it too different from what it used to be? Has it kind of evolved a little bit? Like, maybe even for anybody who's like listening or watching, like, walk me through fully like kind of what a Spice Up event looks and feels like. Like, what's the process?
Yeah, it is based off of how much I can do as a person. Like, as an entrepreneur, which I'm sure you're aware of this too, of like, your body is the machine that's keeping this going, so you have to make sure your ducks are in a row, the base of your house is ready to be doing this thing that it has a lot of risk and is time intensive. So the format of Spice Up exists as there's two versions of Spice Up that exist currently, where I do like a multi-course meal, and then I interview the chef like during the dinner as well. It's like, that's like 2 to 3 hours long. And then there's the version that exists as a stand-up comedian, where I, on a stage, interview the chef with another stand-up comedian, and the audience gets to try like a handheld bite of theirs. I can't really bring like a 3-course meal out, but it's combining like a typical comedy show with food. And so, and I've been telling people it's like a live podcast, but tastier, because I try and record it so I can post it later. So yeah, so those are, I want to do more with it, but those are what I can do right now. And the one that's a multi-course meal takes so much time to plan that I've just been focusing on the comedy events now, because it's easier for me to get that going.
Right. And we don't have to leave this in if you don't want to, but I am very curious of like, what are those, like, what's the more that you'd like to be doing with these events? Like, what next kind of evolution could you see some of these taking?
World domination. Yes. Cut this out. Just kidding. No, I want to do a lot more like online content, so that I can honestly make money that way, but also I can reach more people. And I'm super inspired by things like, what's her name? Hot Ones, first off, with Sean Evans, and then also Amelia de Goldenberg with her chicken shop date. And like, I know there were food chef interviews through BuzzFeed that stopped existing. I think they were called like Worth It, where they would go and like try dishes from other restaurants and tell you if it's worth it. But they were funny, and I love them. And so I'm kind of inspired by like that online content. So if I could, honestly, I'd probably like pare back the events to just like quarterly or like a couple a year, so that those events are good as they are. And then have more like social stuff. And then also I want products. Like, it would make sense if I had a spice. I don't know, but there's just so many things I want to dive into, and I actually have had help recently through Case Western Reserve. Their business, they have like a program where their business students help businesses in Ohio with their pain points, things that they're struggling through. And so they reached out to me, and so I had worked with these Case Western Reserve students. It was a program called CYC, but they helped me over the course of the first couple Q1. They helped me with my business problems to try and work through how can I make this a thing that I live off of. And so I have a number of ideas, and they help me prioritize what I should be working on next. So that's what I'm doing secretly behind the scenes. This
is making me realize that I feel like I should be looking for and asking for help far more often with my ideas.
Correct.
Like, you've explained so much through all these stories where you're like, and then I found this group of people that were willing to help, and then I worked with these people, and I'm like, oh yeah, you don't have to do all these things by yourself all the time. Because, I mean, you said that earlier, like, it's a lot to like try to develop any sort of a brand or a business. You're doing 97 jobs.
Yeah.
And I feel like another hard point of like even trying to build a team is finding that like really good balance of people who are not only just excited to be a part of your idea, but more so truly understand the idea or your goals or your vision of the idea. Like, does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
Like, rather than, because I feel like I have, over the years, whether it be in video production or whether it be in like an actual like brand that I've wanted to build or whatever, I feel like it's always so easy to find people that are excited about like, whoa, that's a cool thing, let me help. And then really be able to find the people that like you can, for lack of a better term, like be those like ride or die team members that are like, no, yeah, here's what I can bring to the table. Here's the problem that I see you having.
Yeah.
Here's how I can help solve it. And boom, now we're going to build a stronger foundation and continue to grow. Like, so I don't know if there's necessarily a question in there, but I think I'm kind of having a good reminder right now of like, oh yeah, like there are things out there that exist to help people create businesses and get ideas rolling. And it's not all just like, well, I guess I'll stay up till 3 a.m. tonight working on this thing, and then I'll see if I can figure it out tomorrow. I don't know. Like,
I'm going to answer both of your questions, but I do just want to say it's a myth that you need to build yourself up from your bootstraps, that people are individualistic, like that you need to be individualistic as opposed to being a part of your community because we're stronger together. It's a myth. And I was forged in the fires of hustle culture, startup culture, and I saw all these people at the top who created these startups, pitched these startups. They all have funding. They all have like people who helped them along the way. They spoke up, they sought those resources. And so it's hypocritical for people to say, you need to do it yourself. The resources are there, we're stronger together, our community's stronger if we're helping each other out, having each other's backs. And so I think that's super important to keep in mind. Finding a team is hard, and the concept of the startup weekends, honestly, a pain point, I think, is that after you pitch that idea, that team just goes with you and does it with you. But I just met them that weekend. And so when we first started, unfortunately, I had to pare back the 13-member team. It was just a lot of people to manage. And I'm like, I didn't know I'd be managing all of you.
Yeah.
There were no interviews. Right. They were just working together.
Thanks for being here, I guess.
Very grateful for all those people. I still keep in touch with some of them, but it was just like, it was too much right then. And so it's the hardest part, and I've been a part of like startup like meetups in groups where entrepreneurs meet each other, because you're again stronger together if you share your ideas. I've been a part of like masterminds where we all share ideas every week and work together towards our goals. Shout out to Jay Klaus. Do you know him?
He and I have talked about getting him on the show at some point. So we've never met, but we've chatted a little bit. Yes. He
was one of my first like true business mentors for my ideas, because I had participated in one of his masterminds a while back. But anyways, finding a team's hard, finding people who like align with your mission, and like especially finding like a co-founder with you too, that's super hard. And so far I've just like stuck with like finding like I'll essentially like pay for people to help me, like consultants or like business mentors help me. And I've just been doing it that way, volunteers, because otherwise, like, having someone come along with you who's not an employee, it's, it's difficult. So
yeah. I'm interested to know, was there anything you had to like shake or get rid of from that hustle culture mindset? Because I definitely feel like, I was trying to figure out freelance during that time frame where it was like, yeah, hustle and grind every day. Like, if you're not working hard enough, you're a loser. Like, definitely like in that time frame. And for a while, I definitely was like, this is what I need, which ultimately can be turned into a good thing. But then eventually you realize, oh wait, maybe rest is productive. How about that? Like, what if I don't grind all the time?
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know what your experience was like really being in the thick of it. Because like, I was just using those kind of, frames of mind, I guess, on my own as a freelancer, just like trying to hustle and grind or whatever. But you were like in startup culture.
Yeah.
Was there anything, I guess maybe a two-part question. What were the good things that you carried with you from that you were like, okay, this was a little over the top at the time, but I turned it into something good that I kept with me?
Yeah.
And then secondary, what were any of those things that you had to shake? Like, was it the like, hey, what if I don't need to work until 3 a.m. every night? Like,
what if I slept? What if, just for once? It was a very toxic time. So there are pros and cons. Like, do you listen to Amy Poehler's podcast? She talks about how SNL, like the pros and cons of doing SNL, of like it's so labor intensive. You're working like nearly every day. I think they only get one day off, but like once you start like writing on Tuesday or Wednesday, you're just like awake constantly writing, doing things until you have to. It's all leading up to the show, so it has to get done. And again, with those constraints, when you're putting constraints in boxes, you get it done because it has to. It doesn't have to be perfect. And so that is really similar to working in startups that are intensive. Sometimes if a startup's larger, it feels more like working for a large corporation where you're just like a cog in the machine. It's fine. But like working at startups, it's growing. This thing is growing, meaning it needs more of you and other people. It's going to eat you as it grows, as you grow with it. And because the thing has to get done, because you have deadlines or you get fired, and you're moving fast again, move fast and break things is like the startup like motto. You are literally moving super fast, doing late deadlines. Like this thing has to be launched because we have to make our investors happy. It's very similar to SNL where like I can solve anything. This problem has to be solved. It's gonna go. It can't be perfect. We just got to go. It's toxic. I would not work at a startup again because of that reason, unless there were good reasons for me to. I was brought into a startup as like the first like UX hire, and so I just noticed like there was a number of things that I like quickly was like dove into it head first, not knowing what would happen as the first hire. That's like it's a very difficult position to be in, and that's not similar. That wouldn't happen if you're going to work at like a large corporation. Like you would have support and whatnot. So it was just a lot of pain, a lot of anxiety, like not a lot of sleep. But the positives of that is that I think it helped me. I'm a perfectionist. And so, go again with immigrant parents, they want you to succeed. They want you to be like a doctor, lawyer, et cetera. So I'm always an overachiever. And that comes at the cost of my own happiness. I'm just making other people happy. I'm a people pleaser. And so with those processes, at working at least like startups, like you just have to get something done and like put it out there. It can't be perfect. What is it? Like perfect is the enemy of good?
It's something
like that?
Yes.
Anyways, yeah, so it fights that perfectionism. I learned a lot about like how to be productive in a way that's healthy now. Productivity culture is actually quite terrible. It's like how much can you do with your time alive on Earth? You should be able to sleep sometimes. But yeah, I learned a lot, very thankful. I learned what not to do. Honestly, like being put in those environments helps you learn what you do actually want. Because when I worked at Abercrombie, things were cushy. Like this company's making millions of dollars. Like we have access to like all the tools that will help me with my research. I have access to like hundreds, thousands of participants, and then you go to a company like that where it's like, we have enough money to talk to one person on the street. Let's go. I learned like what I do want from a company, or how I do work well, and that was way more valuable.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in the middle of learning kind of a new life lesson at the moment. And I say in the middle as if it actually hasn't been kind of probably a handful of years realistically, but like, I feel like a lot of this stuff I can almost apply to like the freelance world as well, where I feel like my blinders are kind of starting to come off even more than they have been, to where for the longest time, the goal was, I just want to be a freelancer. I want to have as much as my time and my autonomy over my life as I can. And if I get to create for people and they pay me for that, incredible. So that was the battle for a while. Then the battle becomes, okay, well, like, how do I get some clients and keep some clients, and how do I keep the work flowing through? And then it kind of becomes, wait, is this even, like, I was so almost blindingly chasing all of this stuff for so long because I needed it to work. Now I'm kind of realizing, wait, like, I literally just wanted this to pay some bills. Now I'm not even liking this thing anymore. But like, I feel like I'm finding that moment of like ultimate burnout all over again. And I feel like what this has done is like, it's developed this whole kind of complete scarcity mindset about something that I was hoping would be a really solid foundation for all the other things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I'm now kind of, again, I keep saying now as if I haven't really been identifying this for a handful of years, but I feel like it's kind of at a boiling point now, and it's really at its breaking point, where it's like, hey, like, if you don't identify that this is no longer sustainable, whether we're talking money or we're talking energy and happiness, like you mentioned earlier, it's like, hey, something has to change. And it's so weird to have that feeling based off of something that at one point in time you wanted really bad.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, no, I wanted to create for a living. But now it's like, my creating for a living is coming at the expense of, well, you're creating for other people who, if I'm being transparent, like, they don't necessarily care what you're doing.
Yeah.
They don't really understand it either. To them, it's a checklist item of, we need a person to do social media, photography, design, video, whatever. Like, do it as it's the classic fast, cheap, and high quality.
Yep.
Right? Like, I feel like that is running rampant now more than ever, where everyone, like, their disconnection from, like, what's the purpose of us doing this? Let's build a good team. Let's build a good idea.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously, we need to be, like, monetarily sound, and we need to make sure we're not overspending or whatever as a business. But I feel like there's been this huge disconnection from the feeling of what we're trying to do. And at least in a lot of my like freelance experiences, I feel like everything I was doing was getting dumbed down so much to where I'm like, oh man, like I need to just like, I really need to just double down on me is what I need to do, because I was trying to put so much of this energy into these entities, into these brands, to give so much, like you said earlier, of like I was giving so much of myself and my energy to whatever it was I was working on. And that feels like the right thing to do until you begin to get some hindsight, and then you're like, I don't know how much this serves me anymore.
We're not in a system that supports making art.
Yeah.
And I have lots of thoughts about this. I'm like, the 9 to 5 is sounding very nice. You know what I mean? Like consistent income because you need to survive. And I'm going to name someone else. Do you know who Colin and Samir are?
I don't know.
Roz.
I'm so bad with names and people and places.
That's okay. Again, Columbus,
you gotta just
America.
Start pulling pictures up, and I'll be like, I've seen that place, I've seen that person, now I know.
We need a third person that Googles stuff, you know? Like
I need the classic producer. Like, hey, can you pull that up real quick? And I'll look at it on the TV.
We'll just look at it for this podcast is like 5 hours. Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, like, oh, that's why his podcasts are so long.
Yeah,
probably. It's a lot
they're
of
just
him
Googling.
Oh, now I know what you're talking about because I saw an article on it. Let's keep talking.
They watch a whole movie.
Yes.
Okay. Colin and Samir, I'll send you this video afterwards.
Please.
But they talk to creators on like YouTube primarily, I believe. And I believe Colin recently posted a video that said like, when you're first, what he recommends people when they're first becoming creators and starting this like creative pursuit is get a job, stick to your 9 to 5. Because if you're worried about making money, your decisions are going to be money based, not creative based. You're going to be making things based off what's going to make you the most money fastest. And that might not be your goal of your art. And so if you don't have that basis there, if you don't have that steady income there, we all need money, we all need to eat, you're not going to be making the art that you first sought to make.
Mm-hmm. What has that balance been like for you as a creator, as an entrepreneur, as someone who's pursuing trying to build all these things while, you know, the world's being the world and being real weird, and also, you know, more specifically, you know, social media is growing and changing, and now it's become kind of a monster on its own, where there's algorithms controlling what we see and what we don't see and all this sort of stuff, where effectively, like we've been talking about, hey, when you're an entrepreneur or you're pursuing a thing, you're wearing multiple hats. Well, yeah. Now so much more of the media marketing and branding are 10 extra hats everybody has to wear, whether you're trying to build and promote Spice Up, or as a comedian and you're promoting your shows. It's like, well, should I be making content? Should I have a podcast? Should I have a talk series? Should I make this? Should I do, you know?
Yeah.
What has that journey been like for you? Like, what's your, I guess, maybe even just your outlook on kind of where all of that sits right now?
It's that I'm struggling. I don't have a good balance. And I think, are you struggling with this too currently?
Yes. The simple part is like, I have a decent balance, but it's, we tip the scale a little bit more to the side of, but this is an annoying struggle.
I mean, honestly, like the income portion is just like, it's guiding my decision making, and I'm like, I need to figure this out. Yeah. Like, and so I've recently been applying to 9 to 5 jobs because I just need a stable income. Like I need that. Hey, what if we work together? No, we start another idea.
Yeah, let's start another company and let's see if it'll work.
Just to make money, print money.
Yes.
That'll work. No, it's just the hardest part, and it's been draining. And the social media, I hate the algorithm game so much, and I just know that I need to do it to grow my business. And I know like people who stay consistent online it can make or break your career. You could, in a day, like virality obviously isn't the goal, but it could help with whatever you're doing. And so like I'm having to look up like how to be a salesperson, all those hats, it's weighing me down. And I am a creative person. I'm also very analytical, and I'm more of a strategist. In my job, I'm a UX researcher and strategist. I'm good at like seeing the big picture of things, but now I'm doing all the things from the beginning of the design process to the end. And like, I am focused on the beginning portion of my full-time job. Like, so now that I'm doing everything, it's very draining. I'm drained all the time. Stand-up comedy is a draining thing. That's a lot for one person to do alone. Like, if they're just doing that, I'm doing this with Spice Up, and I'm tired all the time. And I can't find a balance of like going to bed on time to wake up and work out in the morning. So like I don't work out as often as I used to. That's struggling. Like, I have a supportive partner, a supportive family who like are there for me, and I can talk to him. Very grateful for that. And he helps me if like I've been eating better because of him. Thank goodness. But like, you need your support circle at these times, and like you do need to like reevaluate like I think like goal setting is we weren't talking about this, but I think like that is like the answer to a lot of this is like, what do you want out of this? And if you're doing things that aren't meeting your goal, aren't laddering up to your goal, things need to change quick. And so if I want to live off of this right now, I need to find more streams of income.
Yeah. And I mean that directly relates to my like little rant of like, oh man, freelance is kind of dead because like I said, I'm in the middle of reevaluating those things where it's exactly what you just said. I have to reevaluate what I'm continuing trying to, like, what bricks am I using to keep building this right now? And I don't think this is sustainable anymore. You know, it's like, and I can sit and be like, you know, I think I have a relatively good balance over things. But also, every time I feel like I get balanced on something, there's 67 more things that fall onto each side, where then it's like, well, okay, is your gym routine good enough? Is your eating good enough? Is your, you know, are you staying in contact with friends well enough? Are you you know, and
you didn't text me back, and so that's,
yeah, I know. See, I'm working on it. But like, you know, I know we're also, in general, we're explaining just like what it's like to be a human in 2025 of like, oh, there's all the things all the time. And I do try to look at most of these things in a less overwhelming way. Like I really do try and like, if I'm identifying them, okay, then what can I do about that? How can I stay connected with people the way that I want? How can I create the art the way that I want? How can I use social media the way that I want? And how can I learn to detach my perceived worth based off of, did this get 500 likes or did it just get 15? Like, just because an algorithm somewhere that doesn't have taste decided this thing was good or not because it didn't get enough likes at the beginning of the thing, right?
Did it make a teen feel bad about herself if no algorithm doesn't want it?
Yeah.
You know?
Did it make people argue in the comments over what is this crazy enough thing that you posted, or was it just like a nice casual thing that you just shared?
Right.
And there's probably a billion different avenues of rant that we can add to with this, but it's such a wild balance of literally all things. And maybe this is also just growing up and getting older, but like I do feel like I'm trying to like really recenter, and in that recentering there's almost this disconnection, and I'm curious to know if you're feeling this or have felt this, of like there's almost a disconnection of letting go of things that I really did think that I wanted in trade of ultimately kind of just the peace of existing. Like I don't know if that sounds too deep, but like I literally I wrote something down the other day, like as journaling, and I wrote down that I feel like at all times right now I'm about 5 minutes away from just like disappearing into a cabin in the woods and just like being a ghostwriter for something for the rest of my life, right? And I don't mean that to sound pessimistic. I mean for it to more be like, I just want to just reset completely, because the chase of all of these things, like we're saying, like it's overwhelming for everybody. And then all of the things that are ultimately out of our independent control that are being decided for people, it's like, then you add that layer on of like, man, there's all these crazy things being decided by these crazy people, and I'm just trying to keep up with my friends well enough. Like, I'm trying to go to the gym enough. Like, it's such a weird, and I really, like, I did not mean to take us down this, like, negative, whatever.
Oh.
Like, that's not, I genuinely mean it when I say, I don't look at the world that way. Like, I can identify, like, there's a lot of shitty, annoying, and really fucking stupid things that are happening.
Yeah.
But I'm not the person who, like, I walk around every day being like, well, everything sucks and everybody sucks. But, like, I really do look at it the opposite. I'm like, okay, what's the good that I can do? What's the good that I can surround myself with, and all this sort of stuff? There's going to be the chaos. What can I do that's good? How can I kind of control my own individual narrative, basically? You
are a positive person. You're a glass half full person. I'm generally a glass half empty, and I'm
really?
just impressed. Yeah, you are generally a positive person, I would say. Don't you agree?
I do. Yes, I would agree. And I've always been like that. Like, and I don't know what it was, really.
Did you have a good childhood?
No.
Oh.
So, things could always be worse. Of course, there's always that caveat. But no, it was chaos. But like, I if I'm being honest, I almost think because of that stuff, though, I kind of catapulted in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, I was made to feel these ways when I was growing up, so I don't ever want to make anybody else feel that way, right? I would rather like create art and create good into the world and try to connect people and try to do things that are from big to small to whatever. And I guess I don't even know where this ramble is necessarily going, but it all does kind of core off of the freelance, the entrepreneur, the startup culture, the hustle culture, all that sort of stuff, where there are good things that can be taken from those. Absolutely. I've learned good things from those different, grind mindsets and all that sort of stuff. Like, I have taken good things that I would apply in positive ways now.
Yeah.
But there is just this sense of like, man, we are always all trying to do all the things all at once. And again, it's like even being a stand-up comedian, it's like, well, you got to be your own booker, your own PR person, your own manager, your own content creator, your own thing.
Writing all the time, yeah.
And it's like, there is a part of it that I understand is like, well, hey, Ross, you sure are complaining a lot for something that you signed up for. Like, I get that can maybe be a pushback of like, yeah, I wanted to do all of these things. And quite honestly, I'm probably going to continue to do most of them, right? Even though we're finding those disconnections of maybe the how is changing, right? Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it's still what the biggest battle I've been finding myself in is this like weird rebellion of like, I just want to exist in a positive way and I just want to make stuff. Like, I just want to make stuff. But all of these avenues in which I'm being met with opportunity to make stuff within, I'm not trying to be shitty here, but like, I feel like I'm finding that they were all just these like shitty paths that were a means to an end.
Yeah.
It was whoa, this will pay my bills and I get to create, this must be good.
Yeah.
And in all actuality, it was like, oh, this client from day one has wanted to pay me less from the moment they hired me.
Yeah.
You know, they don't care about what I'm even creating them. Again, it's back to what I said earlier. It's just a checklist item.
Yes.
You know?
This is all relating back to, and I'm no expert on this, but like, we live in a capitalistic society where it's profits over people. If it was people over profits, perhaps there would be more funds for us to do our art and succeed in ways that we would like to, as opposed to like, we are forced to figure out how to make the most profit from the things we're doing, and it's unfortunate. And yeah, there's a lot of discussion about this online, obviously, about capitalism, and we go, that's another podcast. We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
But like, at the end of again, systems thinker, we're not in a system that is conducive to us making good art.
Right. Have you, are you familiar with the writer Amy McNee at all?
No.
Okay. Tanya.
I know.
No, I can get you back.
Happen.
No, she has become one of my favorite people to follow online because she leads with like all the rebellion that we're kind of talking about, of like, she's really, really good at positively reinforcing the idea of like, just do the thing you want to do. It does not matter if it goes viral or not. It doesn't matter if it sells 100 copies. It doesn't matter if your event sells out the venue of 100 people or if 20 people showed up. Like, do the thing because the world needs more people just doing the things for the sake of doing them.
Yeah.
And like, and she's like, she doubles down on that a lot, where she just released a book. I think it's called The World Needs Your Art is what it's called. And I will definitely link you her stuff after this, because she literally is like top inspiration for me right now, where I'm like, any day she posts, I'm like, amazing reminder. Yes. But the story is basically, she launched this new book and, you know, selling copies, whatever, doing great. And then she goes on the podcast of Jay Shetty, if you're familiar with Jay Shetty.
Yeah.
One of the top podcasts, I would say, in the world right now, probably.
Fellow brown man.
Yes.
Woman man.
And he, you know, so that they, you know, have an interview. It's a great interview, whatever. And not in a pessimistic way, but in a very realistic way, she shared the information of what happened to her book sales after she was on this incredibly large podcast. Mm. Nothing changed.
What?
Nothing changed. She sold pretty much the same amount of books she had been selling week to week.
Yeah.
Like, there was like maybe a tiny bump. And in her write-up about this, she was like, listen, I'm not sharing this to complain. I'm not sharing this to say there should have been more at all. I'm sharing this so anybody out there who is pursuing a thing know that perception is not always reality. And she kind of breaks down the fact of like, hey, I was just on a gigantic podcast.
Yeah.
With a gigantic podcast host who's pretty popular right now and is a great person, and we had a great conversation. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All signs point to this show that gets millions of listens and downloads. I should see a bump in probably a few thousand books, right?
Right.
And she literally shared her graph. She shared everything from her sales. She was like, I sold maybe 5 to 10 more than I did before.
Wow.
And again, in the effort of, hey, this is just how things are sometimes. I don't feel like a failure. I don't think it was a waste of time to be on that podcast. Ultimately, we cannot tie our worth based off of something monetarily, based off of numbers, whatever. Obviously, again, whole other conversation for another time of we are being told that numbers and
Yeah.
money is the only worth that something can have. But I say all that to say, like, she has become like literally one of my like main inspirations for this like rebellious attitude.
Oh, I love that.
Of like, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want to do. And sure, anything that we do, we want people to know about it. We want people to come to a Spice Up event. I want people to listen to this podcast. Like, I would love for all those things to grow and get seen by as many people as possible.
Yeah.
But at the core of all of it, it's also really figuring out that why and figuring out the like, okay, bare minimum. And I use this, comparison all the time. So if anybody has listened to multiple episodes of this podcast, I apologize if I'm repeating myself. But like, at a bare minimum, my joy is the worth of doing this show. You know what I mean? Like the fact that like you and I get to sit down uninterrupted for an hour to 2 hours and just ramble about all the things, and I get to know your story and why you do all the things you do and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Then we leave this podcast being like, oh wow, we just got to hang out for a little bit, uninterrupted. We're not checking our phones.
Yeah.
We don't have anywhere to be. Whatever it is, and effectively, you and I like become a little bit closer because of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, okay, cool. What a fun thing we got to create together.
Yeah.
Yes, I would love if 500,000 people check out this episode, but the worth of this happening is not based off of those numbers.
Yeah.
And like
totally
people will often, they'll be like, dude, like how many downloads do episodes of the podcast get? And I'm like, I check maybe once a quarter, just to kind of see how things like maybe. But like, I'm not like releasing an episode and then going back the week after and be like, okay, how many people downloaded it, blah, blah, blah. Like that is a part of a lot of things that I have just removed. Like it'll peek in there sometimes in my brain and be like, hey, wonder how this is doing.
Yeah.
And because of course, yes, I want things to be successful. I want things to be good. I want them to grow. But I've removed that sense of worth or value of the things I do. If I make a short film and it gets 50 views on YouTube, that's 50 people that watch this thing. And I don't care if they watched all of it or not, I still made it.
Yeah.
And I had fun with my friends while we made it. It's just the idea of making art and building a brand or building a business just for the sake of doing it. And yes, those things have to turn a page at some point where it's like, well, if you're building a business, this needs to be sustainable, 100%. But I would rather any of that success be built off of a true, authentic why, rather than just what's my fastest way to the quickest profits and blah, 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 blah.
Right. Your main goal when you thought of that why wasn't, I want to be filthy rich. And I think that's the difference of like other people go into other things. And also like, I'm assuming you don't have like investors breathing down your neck of like, we need to make this much money next week, because that would dictate, you know what I mean, like your decisions and whatnot. So there's freedom in this.
Yeah. Hey, if there are investors out there that want to start breathing down my neck, give me some money. I'll let you breathe on this neck. That's fine. That's fine. I'll sell out at any moment. No, but like that is the thing. And
Quiznos.
I'll take money from anybody. No, but again, that is the thing of so much of what we're talking about. It is all of this like exciting adventures to build a thing, all while dragging the anchor of, am I building it good enough? Am I building it fast enough? I saw somebody else do this similar thing and they went super viral overnight. That must mean that they're super successful, when ultimately maybe that's not actually the truth.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like reevaluating too, like what do I even actually want what that person has?
Right.
Like, do I want that? Like, sure, money and connections or whatever, that sounds cool, but also what's really going on behind the scenes?
Exactly, yeah.
For this person to be navigating this realm.
And it's okay if they want that, just like understanding what you want. Yeah.
Exactly.
Super important.
Yeah.
I had a question for you.
Yes.
Let's say like you had like a random investor invest, like he's going to give you $500,000 this year. He doesn't need to know like how well you're doing. It doesn't need to grow or anything. He just is going to give you all this money. Would that change how you do this? Like you aren't worried about like a stable income. You have it. You have money to invest in this. What would change about this podcast?
About this podcast in particular, I don't want this to be like a cop-out answer, but I don't know how much would change. Okay. Outside of, maybe I'd like spice up the, no pun intended, the, set design or something, right? Yeah. Damn it. Please, I need that money now. But yeah, I don't know. maybe just, I don't know, a cooler studio or something, but like, I don't even know if that's absolutely, there'd be a couple tech things maybe I'd upgrade. I'd get, some new cameras or upgraded mics or something. But at the end of the day, like, I really do, I try to make things as simple as possible and really focus them on that why, that backbone of like, cool, like, is this produced to the bar that I want it to be produced and the level that I want to be producing it? And then again, cool, am I having fun conversations with fun people?
Yeah.
So like, yes, 100%. Like, I'm not sitting and trying to be like super like whatever about, like, if someone was giving me a bunch of money, absolutely there'd be things that would be upgraded. And there's so much that I could do with that. But I don't know if like fundamentally I feel like I would change a lot. I feel like it would just alleviate many of the roadblocks, whether with this podcast or any other endeavor I have, where I'm like, okay, cool. Like, and maybe I'm wrong for this, but like, I feel like my bare minimum need for a lot of the things I do is relatively low. You know what I mean? I'm like, my bar for success is like, if I could do this with it, cool. I'm happy with that. Or like, the at your service books, that I'm doing, and that brand that I'm starting up, like the Not Real Funerals brand. Like, if somebody invested money for that, like, it would make a bunch of prototypes that I could send out to build partnerships and collaborations with, right? Yeah. It wouldn't change vast amounts of like what I would be doing with the brand. It would get rid of some of those like initial hurdles that's like, oh yeah, this is why people have investors for their business. Yep. Is so they can print physical prototypes to send out to people, so then people are familiar with what this book idea even is. Like, so yeah. For the record, I want you to know that I hate that I said it was a hypothetical man investor, just so we know. I did say man. I did say man. Part. Delete this. But if it was a woman. But I agree, like, if I'm thinking about the things that so I also had a podcast. It was called Fangirl Feels, and we talked about books, TV shows, and movies. Yeah, with our podcast, thinking about that, and then also thinking about Spice Up. Like, the number one thing, like, if I did have, like, a silent investor of some sort, it would help me with production. I would just hire a team. You know what I mean? Because we're one person, just to alleviate that. That alleviates my mental load to do more things. So I think that's what would change, is that there'd be more things probably being produced because I'm doing less of the like work to make it happen. Yes, that is actually the more well thought out answer, because I absolutely would steal some of that of like, well, yeah, actually now that you mention it, I would hire somebody to like edit the content of this for me, or to do the thing, like, yes, taking some of those things off the plate. Like that. Have you tried to venture into like any sort of investment or anything that you took from any of those pitches or the startup culture or anything for Spice Up? Like, have you tried to kind of dip your toes into more of that? That's actually what the CYC, the Case Western Kids, tried to help me with, was that they created plans of like how I can seek investors, because I just think it's difficult for a for-profit business because they're not getting like a tax write-off for it. And I've been on like the board for local nonprofits, and like there's a whole process for getting grants and investors there because they have an incentive. And I'm like, what is the incentive for you? I don't really have that like value proven out for them just yet. So that's what I'm going to be working on in order to get those investments. But I did get like initial investments from Startup Weekend and Get Back that helped launch your business. You kind of need some of that capital, but right now that's like what I'm focused on to do next year. So I need to meet more rich people. Honestly, that's basically what I think about once a week. Here we go. When I'm working on an idea, I'm like, I don't know enough rich people who want to be like, hey, I have $100,000 lying around that I would feel cool about. It was for my dog, but you can just have it. Yeah, it was for my dog treats, but I suppose that you can have it for your film project, whatever. Just put me as executive producer. I need those people. Yeah. I've been told I need to golf, though. I was literally just about to tell you that's what I've been told by rich people. Oh, I don't. By other rich people who I've talked to. They said, and I'm not going to do it. Who knows? Maybe I will. Maybe. But they said that's where the deals are made, literally. Like, I thought that was just a joke, a little prank, a little bit that all the rich people have. No, they actually are making deals and chit-chatting. Yeah. If you watch Succession. I haven't. Motherfucker. It's a great show.
they literally would golf and make deals and all that stuff.
Yeah,
there too.
I don't like that I've been told the same things by a few people. They're like, dude, you got to start golfing because that's like where you talk about the stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to golf. Like, I have no, like, even just dressing up to go golf. Like, why can I not wear what I'm wearing right now to go golf? I have shorts and a t-shirt on.
You think that would be fine, but
I have to wear a polo. I want to know, like, obviously we've talked about business, we've talked about stand-up. Like, when you are looking forward with things, like, what are more things you want to do in comedy? What are more things you want to... We've touched a little bit on Spice Up stuff, where you want it to go, but, like, I guess maybe the question is, like, when you look at comedy and everything like that, like, what's trajectory there? Is it like I want to get more involved in, like, writing or series or whatever? Is it like, let me just keep growing stand-up as much as possible? Like...
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts here. So I know that my 2 pillars of my life are going to be Spice Up and stand-up. I constantly reevaluate what I want out of life, and these are the 2 things that have consistently made me happy over the past, like, 5 to 6 years. And it's tied to my passions. And so I want to grow those things. I'm not really sure, like, and those goals might change, but right now I know that one day I want to be a headliner for stand-up. And for Spice Up, I want those events to grow, and in order for, like, do more events, have more people view it, et cetera. And for that to happen, I need to be good at comedy, right? So that's why that it goes hand in hand of, like, I need to consistently be doing stand-up to support that business as well. And so that's my goal with stand-up. It's where I'm at with it now. It's not saying, I feel like if someone had me as a headliner within the next month, I could probably do it with my material. I probably have a good, like, 20 to 30, if I'm being honest. Maybe less than that. As you, like, cut and refine your comedy, you're like, this is shit. But what have I been saying for 2 years? But no, so one day I guess I want to do an hour of good. I want to put out a special, right, at some point, like, of, like, good comedy that's, like, written well. I'm big on writing. But right now, I'm it's a marathon, not a race, and it's really easy to get sucked into, like, I need to get there right now. And based off your goals, that's okay. If you do want to rush there, no worries. But, like, for me, I know that it's, with everything I'm doing, it's going to be a marathon, not that sprint. And I say that I'm in a comedy college, and so I just graduated from my sophomore year. I just finished 2 years of comedy, and now I'm going into junior year, and that helps me mentally take it slowly. Like, I'm still learning, and that's okay. I'm not perfect at it. It's like one of the first hobbies in my life where I kept doing it because I was able to get out of the perfectionist mindset. I usually quit hobbies because I needed to be perfect, and if I'm not good at it, it's why I stopped, like, doing, like, pottery. I'm like, I'm not good at this. Blah. But this, I'm like, I want to be good at this, and I know it'll take time, and it's okay if I'm not good. It's okay if I bomb. No worries.
Yeah, I love that college outlook a lot. Of, like, oh, I'm only a couple years into this thing. Like, okay, I'm in my sophomore year. That is a very fun way to look at that. How have you balanced perfectionism? Walk me through that. Like, I'm sure it works differently for everybody, and again, there's never just, like, one switch any of us make for anything we're trying to solve, and then it never comes up again. But, like, what's that balance of perfectionism look like for you?
I was gonna say everyone should go to therapy. Like, I'm currently not in therapy, but, like, my brother went to. The only way I know that I am a perfectionist is that because my brother went to therapy, and his therapist was like, you have this bad, what's wrong with you? What happened to your childhood? But again, immigrant parents, we were raised to, like, we came from a culture that placed value on your achievements. And especially moving from India to another country that's difficult, and you have to, my dad's a doctor, and so a lot of immigrants, we could go down to history, but, like, a lot of immigrants in the past have gotten their visas because they had one of those careers of, like, doctor, lawyer, et cetera, business person. And so that thinking of, like, a high achieving person is raising kids, he's probably going to raise us to be high achieving as well. And so that, like, thought, I've always thought of, like, how can I be great? How can I achieve and make them happy? And not until recently was I like, how do I make Tanya happy? You know, it's very difficult. And you start to think, like, you start to go down all of the things you've done and are like, what would have changed if I thought about myself first and not what would make my parents happy. Loved him to death, but, you know, and they don't even mean to. It's just how they were raised also.
Of course.
But so perfectionism, it's pervasive. It's in every thing I do, and it's very difficult. And I talk about it constantly recently because I've only learned that I'm a perfectionist, like, as of 2 years ago. I don't know if you were the same way, but like during interviews, I would say like, I'm a perfectionist, and it was like applauded.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I didn't actually think I was just like, I just want to get hired. Right. And then I realized like, no, it keeps me from doing things because I give up otherwise if I'm not good at it.
Mm-hmm. Whether this comes from the business world or comedy, what is your favorite thing you've learned about yourself over the last handful of years?
Okay, it's what I've learned about myself and also what people tell me is that I'm a very organized person. I like to plan and strategize. My brain just works that way. I'm a planner when I go travel. I have so many documents and sheets. I like to know what we're going to do and when, but still have fun. It's okay, guys. But I just want to know, like, if there's like a fun party happening the Tuesday that we're going there, I want to know it exists so that we have the option. And I always look up restaurants' menus before I go. And that extends to everything I do. I just like planning, strategizing, and it makes me a professional person because that's how I've worked within companies as well. And it does stem ultimately from being a perfectionist, if I'm being honest. Being a planner so that like I know what to expect and it goes well comes from that. But now it's my strength, and I had to, now that I'm aware of it, I do appreciate that that's how my brain works. I like data. That's why I'm a researcher. I do a lot of qualitative and some quantitative data. And it ultimately helps me reach my goals, and I do a lot of goal setting and things like that. I'm just, being a planner and a strategist is something I appreciate about myself.
Yeah. Are you a bucket list type person at all, or like a big goals list in that sense? Like, do you have any of those big like life goals written down or anything like that?
I more so like plan for like a couple years out, not life. I do, I guess, but I don't have it written down of like things I want to do. Okay. Like I really want to go and do like those Krampus celebrations that happen in like Ireland or some like in like Norway. I want to do that in my life, but I don't have that written down. Yeah. But otherwise I do plan like for my year, the next couple months, Q1, whatever. What about you?
I've gotten big into the idea of a bucket list over the last handful of years. There's a guy, he's a speaker by the name of Ben Nemtin. I don't know if you've heard of him or not. He's a writer and a speaker now. He's from the show from MTV, The Buried Life, if you remember that at all or ever heard of it.
This exchange, we have no overlapping circles, zero.
We have lived different lives.
Wild.
Or we could each be making just the stuff up just to make ourselves sound
Like,
have you ever heard of Schmeickel Barbenheimer? And you're like, no. Like, oh, well, I guess you don't know.
That'd be a fun podcast if you have someone who does improv on it, just like the whole time, just bullshitting.
Yes, just making up. But it's like a real interview, but they are just BSing everything. But anyway, Ben Nemtin in the show The Buried Life, it was on MTV years and years ago. The idea basically was like, what do you want to do before you die? And so it was like this group of 4 friends. They came together, all made these big bucket lists of just like different fun experiences and things that they wanted to do in their lives for no other reason other than to experience them. And then they were shooting a documentary about that, turned that into a television show where they would travel around the nation or the world. And while checking things off their list, they would find people in the town that they were in and then ask them, what's something you've always wanted to do in your life? And then they would help them do it.
Oh, cool.
And so like I've followed Ben for a handful of years and like kind of rediscovered all of this stuff on a podcast with him a handful of years ago. And there's just something about like the idea of a bucket list that I'm like, yeah, I love just kind of like thinking of something that sounds like it would be enjoyable just for the sake of experiencing it. Yeah. And just putting it on this big list that just like keeps growing and keeps growing. And a lot of my favorite things that either they did on that show or that he shares in his, writing or his speaking engagements or whatever is just the idea of like, when you do speak something into existence or you do write it down, that raises the likeliness of you finding a way to accomplish it.
Yes.
And it makes it a little bit more real, where you're like, okay, I'm addressing this thing. I'm putting it out into the world. Okay, how bad do I actually want to do that? And then how can I find a way to accomplish these things?
Yeah.
And ultimately the kind of lesson being, hey, a lot of this stuff is a lot more accomplishable. Is that a word?
No one Google words. Okay.
Don't Google that.
It's fine.
You can accomplish it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more like logical than what one may think.
Yeah.
And that there's a lot of power in just sharing these things with somebody else, because you never know. Like, there could be somebody who checks out this podcast who has family in Norway or something and is like, hey, your guest Tanya said she wanted to go to the Krampus Fest 2K12. Like, let me have her out. It's like just the idea that I feel like is such a fun thing. And I've like started to ask more and more guests that on the show of like, if I feel like they would kind of tap into it a little bit of like, hey, like, do you have a bucket list? Because like, I just think it's such a fun concept, and it has nothing to do with like, oh my God, I'm going to die. It's like, it's about like living more while you're here. It's not like this like, oh, let's wait until something bad happens to then try and do the fun thing.
That's that person's first realization that they're going to die. They're like, what?
They're like, wait a second. Like, will I die soon?
No.
Yes. But yeah, he's another like great speaker and writer that really emphasizes like, just do things for the sake of doing them.
Yeah.
And experience things for the sake of having a more fulfilled life. And I feel like, again, like even going back to the rebellious talk that we were talking about earlier of like getting so angry at freelance or business culture or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like that realm of, I just want to experience life so much, and I get so excited when other people also experience life and like, oh my God, you did that random fun thing for no other reason.
Yeah.
No monetary gain, no capitalistic thing that says it was worth anything.
Yeah.
Doing it just to do it. So I'm always now on the encouragement train of like, hey, anybody who is listening, start making a bucket list. Just start writing things down. It is so much fun. Speaking of doing things in life, is there anything we haven't talked about? Is there anything big that you're like, dude, I can't walk out of this door
until I say this,
close this podcast without us talking about this major part?
Okay, so if we're creating a bucket list, there's something I forgot to mention, that Anthony Bourdain was a huge, huge motivator for me. I've read all his books. I watched his shows, and he was one of the first chefs that talked about the people and the culture and not so much the food. You watch those episodes, I don't remember dishes that he ate, maybe a couple, but overall I remember the countries he went to and the people he talked to, and that is why honestly the genesis of Spice Up was like, he was a big influence for me in that area. Like, I think it's and especially coming from like such a rich culture myself, like it needs to be talked about. Like my culture, my family's from Gujarat, India, and in India, because it's such an old country, the language changes, the culture changes, the diet changes if you just go like to the next city. And so Gujarati food isn't really represented in restaurants in Ohio, not that many. And that was something that was important to me when creating Spice Up, was like, we're going to talk about the people. You need to learn about history too. History and politics affect it all. It's all intertwined. Yep. And you can't talk about food without talking about that. So
yeah, I absolutely love that. Well, I have one final question. And I, of course, end this podcast every episode with the exact same question. So now it's your turn. So right now, I want you to pretend that everybody around the world, we're throwing logic out the window. Everyone can hear you. They can understand you. You have a live mic attached to every single person right now. And you get this moment to share one final thing with everybody. What are you telling them, and what do you want them to hear more than anything?
Closed mouths don't get fed. And we've touched on this a number of times already, and it just proves how important it is. But I have been living by this for the past couple years, and it's helped me drastically change how I've been able to achieve my goals. And it's twofold, I think, to break down why it's important. So I think if you talk about what you want to achieve more often, and you are very intentional about what your goals are, you do those goal setting exercises and you admit to yourself what you want, and you write it down and you know that it's true to you, the more people you tell, the more your web grows and the more people are able to help you reach that goal. You're just opening those doors up. Your web grows and grows and grows, and when people interact with like a connection that could help you, they will know to mention it to you. And you're just helping yourself by saying that out loud. We are sometimes told in society to like not talk about these things, right? Like, you know, don't make a scene, don't ask for things, like, and we just gotta forget that. Because we're, again, and I've mentioned this already, like we're stronger together if we support each other. The other reason why I think it's important, or the why honestly it is successful, if you like, why it is achievable, your goals are achievable if you do talk about them, is because it's psychological. I used to think it was woo-woo. Like I thought it was like dictated by the cosmos, that like if you manifest, right, you do manifestation. I thought that was like a thing that was magic. And I was like, it wasn't until recently, until I like started digging into it, that I realized it is actually psychological, where like your brain is constantly processing billions of stimuli at once coming into your brain. Your brain is a prediction machine. It's trying to predict how you're going to react to the things coming into your brain, and the things that get filtered through are the things that you've told yourself are true. It's only telling you things that you already believe yourself to be true. So if you admit, and again, you do those exercises and you admit what you want and you're steadfast in pursuing it, you can literally co-create your world with your brain. Things start to change, connections start to happen, your brain starts to believe that thing can happen, and the likelihood of it happening will increase. But you have to speak up, open your mouth, because closed mouths don't get fed.
I absolutely love that. Tanya, this was so much fun. I cannot thank you enough for being down to be on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And go through all the rants and rambles with me about all the different things that we dove into. But I think more than anything, what we should do is turn this off and then talk about horror movies.
Yes.
Then
done.
see, you got to subscribe to the Patreon to get the talk about our horror love. So yeah, subscribe to the What You Don't Hear Patreon. It's $5,000 for that tier of exclusiveness.
We just go golfing.
That's what we do. Yes.
Talk about horror.
You're going to catch Tanya and I on some golf courses near you real soon.